Hi, this is Pete with Pathways to Aviation, talking to you about making good first impressions. Think about every relationship you have in your life. If you look at them closely, you might be able to break the introductory part of those relationships into three basic parts: the immediate visual, the initial exchange, and the extended conversation. Each plays an equal and vital role in developing strong and mutually beneficial relationships. Here's a fact for you. 20% of every conversation is verbal, which means the remaining 80% is your presence. Image is important to launching each relationship. Here's another fact. It takes between 3 to 5 seconds for someone to just form an initial opinion or judgment of you. This is one reason first impressions are important. It sets the stage for the eventual or possible conversation. In fact, the first impression can amplify or ruin your chances. Now, there are 3 instances where you typically make first impressions: in person, online, and through electronic communications. Let's break these down. Seeing then meeting people for the first time takes place in line, at social events, professional receptions, you name it. Whichever the setting, be observant to the environment, the situation, the activity, and the people. You want to project 3 things. First is a great interpersonal presence. The second is to be positive and confident. And the third is to show sincerity. Now, you might think that you don't judge people, but it's likely that you do. And people are definitely judging you. That's why it's always important to be on your game. I'll share a few ways to give a great first impression. The first, and it's an obvious one, but it happens more frequently than you might think. Be mindful of your attire and your cleanliness. Know what to wear to each situation. How you look sets the tone. The second, display proper body language. Stand up straight, shoulders slightly back, chin up, hands in front or to the side. And when you cross your arm, it indicates both disinterest and strong interest. Negative body language, like slumped shoulders or looking around or at your phone, lets the person know that you may not be interested in the conversation. The third, be aware of your facial expressions. Use smiles, laughter, concern, sadness, intrigue to indicate that you're actively listening. Similarly, use continual eye contact. You don't have to stare at the person to let them know that you're listening, but frequent eye contact drives conversation. And the fifth, my favorite, the greeting. Approach each greeting with a firm handshake, solid eye contact, and an exchange of names simultaneously to lay the foundation for a great exchange. Now, many people meet and network online. The tips I just shared regarding in-person meetings all apply. From what you're wearing to how you introduce yourself, these tips can make or break your online or virtual networking experience. So here are a handful of tips to amplify success. The first, the camera angle. When talking and listening, always put your focus on the laptop or the phone camera lens, preferably in a direct line of sight. Focusing your attention on the lens shows the person that you're actively listening. The second, keep your body movement in check. Little things like texting and typing and looking around or at your watch all indicate that you're not actively listening. The third, be mindful of your background. Did you know that there are websites that actually rate your background? So keep yours clean and free of clutter and active movement. And we don't need to see people watching TV or washing dishes, etc. For you, keep from petting pets or children or talking to people in the background. And the last, you might be asking yourself, why don't I just keep my screen dark to avoid any issue? And the solution is no. Always keep your screen on. Those who keep the screen on always make better first impressions than those who keep their screens dark. The tips I'm sharing have 3 goals. The first is to ignite strong conversations. The second, establish long-term relationships. And the third is to inspire activation. The third area that requires good first impressions is with electronic communications. Now there may be a few, but I'll focus on 3. The first being email. Always put your contact information in your signature and keep your emails free of any typos or grammatical errors. In fact, you might try reciting your email verbally before clicking send. The second is with LinkedIn. When inviting someone to connect, always write a personal message. Now, not only does it establish a connection, most will trigger a written response in addition to the acceptance. The third is with chat. Take advantage of the chat area of virtual calls to make initial contacts with both panelists and the fellow attendees. Now we could talk about first impressions for hours, but they basically boil down to being intentional with taking your career to meaningful and productive levels. The first impression is the first investment that you'll make in each relationship and possibly your career success.